All right, it is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I am officially going to start streaming now. Hey everybody, JK here from Weekend Panda. Um, this is the first time I've done streaming on Twitch or streaming at all, so I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm used to being able to record and then edit, so live is a little different, but here we go. Today I'm going to be working on some art for the upcoming Weekend Panda game that we're starting work on now. As you can see from the screen here, um, it's going to be a panda, so that's pretty great. And we're going to, I'll kind of go over why I'm doing this and what I'm doing as I go. I'm working in Krita, which is a free piece of software. It's open source. If you have not heard of Krita before, I'm a big fan. They do not pay me anything to say that, but I'm just such a fan that I recommend it to everybody. It's definitely the preferred painting program that I've worked in. So you can check that out for free if you want. I put the link over on the side above right here, I guess. So you can check that out. And okay, so my Cintiq that I use to draw on is located over there, and if I keep the webcam on, then you're just going to be looking at this part of my shoulder while I'm drawing, which is not very interesting. So I'm going to shut the webcam off while I'm drawing, and then I'll just pop back every once in a while. And if anybody wants to chat, I have the Twitch chat window open there, so I'll keep peeking over every once in a while and go from there. All right, here we go. Turning off the webcam. There's Mr. Fishy scooching my chair over. Okay, so I'm going to be working on essentially a better version of this guy right here today. This was a temporary version that I did, and I need a better version. Basically, I just need to figure out what it is that this art style is going to be for the next game. We want shoulder cam. Well, if enough people want shoulder cam, you just chime in and then we'll go with that. At any rate, so I'm working on some art for the next game. And I don't want to go into too many details about the next game because uh, if you've ever developed a game, you know that things happen during game development. And if you do not or if you announce too many things early on and then it all gets cut, then people generally get sad. So I'm not going to exactly explain what everything about this game is about, but in it there is a panda, and I need that panda to essentially be a circle. But here's a little design tip for you. Circles are not particularly interesting. So if you look at this guy here, he is much more visually interesting because he's not completely round. He's got a little bit of uh, flats and different things, and parts of him stick out past the circle, like right here and stuff. So, whoops. So it's much more interesting to have a character that's not super round, but it still needs to be round for gameplay purposes. So this was my last attempt, my last rough drawing that I did on newsprint paper. So I'm going to essentially start on that guy and try and work through this. If you have any questions or anything while I'm drawing, I don't know how well I'll be to draw and talk at the same time, but I will do my best. So I'm essentially going to try and make a not quite round character that is as close to that circle as I can, because the circle that you see in the background there is going to be the hit state, or however you call it. So I really want it to be close, but I don't need it to be exactly on there because it won't be as visually interesting. So as you can see, the shape that I've just drawn here is more interesting to look at than just here, I'll shut that off for a second, than just a plain circle. Plain circle is nice. Funny shape is more appealing. Anytime you can break into various forms, you're going to get more appeal, generally speaking. So we're going to try and cram it into almost a circle. and I'll go from there. Okay, so this is kind of my base shape for the panda, and I generally work pretty rough at first. And if you look up here, I turn the opacity down on the pen, which means that it's slightly see-through, and when I go back over it, it gets darker. Whereas if I have that all the way up, it's automatically all the way dark, and it's not as easy to do sketching because it's super dark. So I turn the opacity down while I'm working on the rough stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna give him, I want him to, be dimensional, so I'm kind of putting in just some guidelines there, but mostly he's a very graphic form, and I'm just kind of making stuff up as I go to see what will work and what won't. Here's a bit of art lesson for you. Most of the time you're going to throw away half of what you do, at least, if not more. So I don't expect all of this to be in the final game or anything, but I'm just kind of experimenting and playing around to see how it goes. Another thing is right here, you'll see that I'm making his nose triangular shaped currently. You can make things like this, which are a perfectly fine nose, but if you can ever add just a little bit more dimension or interest to multi-planes, then generally speaking, it's going to be a little more interesting to look at. So just something to keep in mind. Happy little trees. So I'm going to try and vary aspects of the character. This was one of my early attempts right here, and what you'll see is that it flattens out pretty a lot, like it's just straight up and down. That's really not that interesting. So that's why I started moving past that towards things like this and this, where the center line is no longer directly in the center, which again is just more interesting to look at visually. So I'm trying to incorporate that by changing out the symmetry and twinning. If you're an animator, you know the word twinning, and it's when bad things happen. It's essentially when things are straight up and down. This is a very twinned image, so we try not to do that in animation. And why do it in any art then? Sometimes it's useful, but so I do not have here an image. Oh yeah, I do. This guy has a mouth right there. It's not a mustache, it's a mouth. And I'm not sure if I want to give him a mouth or not, but I'm going to give it a whirl. Thanks, Andrew. So I will try a few with a mouth and without a mouth, but first I'm just going to stick with the roughest form. And let me flip back and forth with this guy to see how close he is to the circle. Okay, so if you can see, and I'm not sure if you can, there's a tiny little bit of circle just peeking out right here that is not, the form is not completely covering. So we're going to pull out his right arm here so that that hit state works a little bit better, but it doesn't completely break that flow of the actual line that we've got behind it, and that's going to need some cleaning up, but for now it'll work. So sometimes you can get away with little cheats like that. Now on the other side, there's not, it's pretty much right at the circle, but I like how this guy and all of these and such have bits that stick out. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the other hand paw over here. But when the actual game happens, sorry, I'm assuming the top left is a drawing from a picture of a real panda. Oh, yeah, that guy. That is a real panda. So is this one. I was just trying to get an idea of how things wrap around and where the forms are. I did a bunch of studies of actual pandas first. That's always a good thing to do. There's an Animator Island article on reference. If you've not read it, it's a good one. It talks about how the key to good reference is to get a bunch of reference and then try and combine things so that you get your own thing. So actually, These guys on the page or on the screen here, they're all, I think they are all my own creations, but I also went and found a bunch of Panda illustrations and I copied those to kind of pull bits and pieces from, because one of the keys to art is stealing other people's stuff and then recreating your own work out of bits and pieces, because that's just what art is. I was talking about the things that don't fit in the hit state. So in the game, if there's a ground plane or something and the panda is sitting on it, anything that sticks out past the hit state is going to overlap a little bit, like here. But I'm okay with that for right now. So we're going to see what it looks like whenever it's in the game. Yes, being inspired by, that's correct. That beautiful fine line between being inspired by and totally just stealing everything. Okay, so I kind of like that guy. He's fat and adorable. Where do I want to put his belly? Okay, so now I'm going to start a new layer because I'm not sure where I want to put this stomach line, and I don't want to screw it up. So a new layer will help me to do that. Initially, I would like to put it right here, but if you see, this creates this ugly little tangent, and we don't want that because tangents are not good. So I'm going to move it up here for now and see what happens. But that might be too big, but I'll give it a whirl. And come down around here. Yeah, okay. So this part would be filled in. And again, this is all pretty rough right now because I'm just kind of getting the design of it, and then I'll go back and I'm not sure if I like that or not. Well, we'll keep it for now. Let me get some feet on it. Go back to my other layer. Okay, so right now the feet are going to give me problems because my initial desire is to have them be round, but as we talked earlier about, round is not always the best thing to do. So I'm going to leave them round for now, but I really should clean those up and make them more appealing. Or do I do it now? No, let's just do it now. So just by flattening out one edge, essentially, you're going to come away with a more interesting shape to look at. And it might not be right, because that's what happens in early work, but it's at least a little more interesting than what it was, I think. All right, good enough. Good enough for now. Good enough is a good motto for this day. And later on, when deadlines approach, good enough will be another thing that we want to keep in mind so that we don't just sit there and continue to mess with things. Okay, so at certain points, this panda is going to be moving. And when the panda is moving, my hope is that we'll do a sprite swap so that he looks a little different while he's moving than when he's not moving. So I'm going to start a new layer real quick. And what do I call it? Moving. All right. In this instance, I'm going to have, and I should have probably, I'm getting out of order here. I apologize because my brain is moving faster than my hand. Initially, his ears are going to be cued and out like this or something like that. And the ears are almost always going to probably be over top of the line because the hitbox is back here still. But they're going to, do I want it out there or do I want it like, move it over. Take some creative liberties. And I don't think his ear would actually be where I'm putting it, but art lets you cheat. So whatever. I want to change it later. Okay, but when he's moving, I want to do something different. So I think I'm going to have his ears kind of spring up while he's moving. maybe. So something like this, because it would be kind of adorable. So you won't have both sets of ears, but when he's not moving, it'll look like that. When he's moving, they'll kind of go up in the air, I think. And then also when he's moving, I might bring his hands up too, so that he's like, wee. Oh, but that will mess with the hit state. We're trying stuff, doesn't matter. Can always fix it later. So for now, we're just going to mess with it. And then also his eyes are going to be little half circles when he's moving. So if I flip back between the two, that'll be his normal state, and then he'll have his hands up, which I can just put the opacity back up. Pretend erasing. Okay. So that's what it'll look like when he's in his moving state, and then he'll go back down when he's not in his moving state. Animation. So this is more of an explanation of what's going to happen than actually happening, because I haven't even decided on this character model yet. But whatever, doesn't matter. Alright. Good enough. If anybody has questions or anything, let me know. I'll keep checking over on the chat thing. I just realized that me yammering on for an hour is going to make me lose my voice. Oh well. Alright. Well. Alright. So a panda's feet, I now know, don't look anything like this. But I'm going to do that because it's stereotypical, and I don't feel like doing the crazy, this sort of thing that a panda's foot actually is. I mean, it's a bizarre looking little foot that they've got. If you're ever interested in looking at a funny foot, you should go research panda feet. No. Sorry. So I now share the office with my wife, and she came over and pointed to mutant squirrels. I'm assuming the top left is a drawing of a picture of a real panda, and I stared at her for a second because I thought I already answered that, but whatever. Oh, okay. See, so mutant squirrel says that he agrees. The drawing of a panda's foot is weird. Man, it's such a weird thing. Okay. All right. So now I'm getting too detail oriented, and I shouldn't because it's too early to do stuff like that, but whatever. I'm falling in this feet. All right. So there's initial design number 1. I like it. It's got potential. Not the dark nose. I don't know. But now we get to play with it and see what else we can come up with. So one thing I noticed with this one up here is that he's much more round. So maybe I should be trying something like that. Let me... Oh, right. I was going to mess to see if stomach needed different. Okay. So here's what we'll do. We will duplicate this guy a couple times. First, let's So I'm just kind of doing back-end stuff where I'm saving versions so that later on, if I end up not liking what I'm about to do, I don't have to worry about it too much. So let's grab those two and move them over here. And we'll turn this off for a second. No, not that one. That one. Okay. Good deal. So now I'm gonna just try some other stomachs because I'm not sure if that one is the right one or not. So we will, let's see. What if we do something like this instead? Okay, so I've just made one change that in my eyes makes a pretty significant difference between what the character looked like before and what it looks like now. Now he looks much more like a teddy bear, whereas before I think he felt a little more panda-y. So I'm still leaning towards the first one, liking that first one better. We'll try one more, I guess. How do I want to do this? Okay. I'm going to take a screen capture of that. Oh, so here's a neat thing that I just found out the other day, and maybe it'll help somebody. If you push on a PC, I have no idea how it works on a Mac, but if you push the start key or hold down the start key, the shift key, and the S key all at the same time, you'll be able to drag a selection, which is what I just did, onto the screen, and it only takes a screen capture of a one little section, which is pretty neat. And then you can just paste that wherever you want, and then I can have a copy of what I just did without messing with the other stuff. So that's exciting. I have no room to put this guy. I'll shrink him down more. So, neat little trick that I did not know about until recently. Everybody else in the world may have known about it, but I find it very helpful. Okay. So now I can go back to this layer and just delete that stomach and try a new one. All right. So that was a smaller one. How else can I mess with his stomach? Let's just try weird stuff. No, I don't want to try weird stuff. I have a bit of time for this to be in the background while I work. Well, that's good, Toxic. I'm glad. I hope that it is entertaining in the background while you work, and I'm not super distracting you from your work. So one thing that I like, so I like this one better right now. Whoops, I'm not in. I like this guy better right now, but I still think that this part bothers me a little bit. This weird little sort of overlapping but not overlapping. So I'm gonna mess with that and see if I can get, because I don't know. Oh, I know. Let's try this. Maybe I'm trying too many circles. So let's try a straight line and then curve it from there. See what happens. That might work. Now it looks like he's wearing pants. Just give him a nice belt buckle right here and he's just got his pants on. Don't know. Just don't know. Anybody have any thoughts that are watching this? Because I'm open to ideas. The early design process is brilliant and wonderful and fun, but also sometimes it's torture because you have every possibility imaginable. Oh, wait, I colored the wrong part, my bad. I'm like, that doesn't look right. Okay, this is the part you gotta color. Okay, so there's a second idea. A or B? I don't know. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just save this, and then I'm going to save a new one as Panda Designing 02, and then I'm just gonna toss everything that I've already done. I'm intrigued about how he would actually look like with white pants if explored further. Oh, interesting. I didn't consider that. I could give him pants. Mutant squirrel, I don't know how it would look, but if instead of taking it down so it overlapped less, you could go the other way, although looking at the colored one, it looks good too. Okay, so you're saying, wait, overlapped less. So I just saved a copy of this so I can just, so you're saying do something like here, go up even higher. I suppose then I could technically, what am I working on? I could technically get rid of this. So it's just implied where it comes together. I don't know. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, so I appreciate the thought. Huh. Now I have one more thing to decide. Alright, well, that's a neat idea, so I'll save it for now and then we'll come back and mess with that later. But that's a cool design element. I haven't thought of that. And I also like the idea of actually giving him pants. So here's the tricky thing about giving him pants. I'll let you in on a little behind the scene thing. So our first game is coming out hopefully in the next couple weeks, as long as we can get this Apple developer registration thing figured out, because it's going to take like weeks for them just to approve us being a developer or something. It's a mess. But anyway, that's called The Death of Mr. Fishy. And if you look at the screen there at the bottom of the sidebar is Mr. Fishy down at the bottom. Oh, here I can turn on. Well, you'll miss Mr. Fishy, but I'll turn on the webcam for a second, and then I can talk. So our first game is called The Death of Mr. Fishy, and it is a very dark humor, choose your own adventure style game that's pretty short, but hopefully it will make a lot of people laugh. It reminds me a lot of the humor that Skeb's Mailbags had. It's not mother approved, let's say. And I wanted to create a game that my family would be happy to play, that maybe don't share my sense of humor, and could recommend to people that they know, because The Death of Mr. Fishy is not the right fit for everybody. So the second game that has this panda is going to be a targeted audience of a middle-aged woman who is my aunt, and when I told her about The Death of Mr. Fishy, she said, well, how do I keep the fish alive? And I said, it's called The Death of Mr. Fishy, so you don't. But she really wanted to keep the fish alive. So the second game is going to be, I don't want to use the word generic, but it's definitely going to have a broader scope and be for a more casual audience. So the one thing that I struggle with to give the panda pants is that I'm starting to just go back into that absurd area that I love so dearly. And I don't know if it's the right fit for this game. But I promise you that game number 3 is going to go right back to the absurd area of Death of Mr. Fishy. Maybe not dark, but I'm not going to play it safe with the third game like I am with the second. But the second is really, it's designed so that like folks in my church won't have any problem just downloading and enjoying it. Whereas, you know, they may enjoy The Death of Mr. Fishy, or they may be like, what is wrong with you? So I will think about the pants thing, but I don't want to go too far pushing it into that other direction because I really think that the second game is going to be a little more uh, casual and just, again, I keep going back to that word generic, and I hate that word because it's not a good word and it's not a good thing to design a generic game. I'm trying to make it as open audience as possible without going too crazy. So I'll turn off my webcam again. Okay. So what am I doing? I'm saving panda number 3. So we're now on panda number 3's. What do I do with my pen? So I'm going to go ahead and delete all the stuff I've done and start again. Okay, so all that stuff is safely secured away. Yes, engaging for all. I like that. Let's call it that. This game is called Engaging for All. Good deal. You're going to be hired for my marketing team. All right, the marketing team, which consists currently of me. So it's now a 2-person job. The pay is terrible. The hours are long, but I got nothing. So I appreciate that. Engaging for all. Okay, so we tried that and it went well, but now we need to try different things because if I just stick with the first thing that I made, which it's not the first, obviously, I've done a bunch, but if I just stick with an early thing, then I'm not going to follow my own advice of doing a lot of different things. So I basically need to ignore this guy for a second so that I can try something different. And let's try that different thing. What am I going to do here? What if we make them at a slightly harsher angle, let's say. So this part needs to be all roundy, but then we can flatten them out up here, maybe. And I have no idea. Like, I'm just trying stuff right now. I have no plan. So if it looks like things are getting weird and such, that's why. So just doing things. All right, so let's see. So we could get them more to the side. It's a possibility. Get that up here. So okay. All right. Well, it's an alternative. Right now, just want to keep trying different things and seeing what happens. So I'm not sure how I like it compared to the other guy, but possibilities. It's interesting. I have an easier time talking when I'm doing the sketching than when I'm doing the coloring. Coloring is hard. Okay, so what I like about this one is that, well, first of all, it's more round, so that would fit better to the game design. And I kind of like how his face is all stuffed up here in the top, because then it makes him look really fat, and fat pandas are pretty adorable. So That part I like. But I'm not sure about other things, so let me duplicate this. And we'll scooch that over there, that over there. Oops, keep turning off the wrong one. Okay, so now let's mess with him for a while. Okay, so let me formulate my word before I just start drawing again. Something else that adds to appeal is contrast. Contrast is a big thing. So if you can have a big fat panda and then give him like a tiny little nose or something like here, oops, and opacity went back up. That will add to his appeal. So in that case, what we can do is start pushing stuff. So I like how his hands are over, kind of like resting on his stomach. But what might be more interesting is if we pushed that a little bit more and made his hands smaller. So let's try that. So what if we give him little tiny hands? Now, I'm not saying this will work or even if this is the direction that I should go, but just trying things. So if I did the same thing with feet, again, so much of this is about just failing as quickly as I can so that I can figure out what works and what doesn't. So there's another option where I could shrink some things down. Yeah, I don't dislike it, but it's not quite right. We'll try one more. 537. So what I'm gonna probably do is I'll save this guy and then we'll try one more totally from scratch design, and then I'm gonna lay out everything and then probably pick something to build off of at that point. So we'll try this. Okay. Template back on. The blank page. Hardest thing in art. Alright, so we've tried this guy and something. We tried him, and then we tried something a little closer to this where it was pushed more. What if let's play with this guy for a second and see what happens. Okay, so I'm falling into this habit where that one shape, maybe it's not a bad thing. The one shape that I kind of started off with, almost a circle but not quite a circle, it's the shape I like. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not going to get as much variety if I stick with it, but I just really like this shape, so I think I'm going to stick with it. That's okay. We'll just go with it. Okay, so this guy, his major feature is more of a giant head, so we'll give him a bigger head. And maybe we'll give him some definition in his cheek here. And then we can do the other side too. Just to see what happens. Might work and it might not. But we'll see. And then he's got smaller little eyes. We'll start with a small nose, but let's push the mouth on this one, just for fun. See what happens. It's hideous, and I hate it. but that's okay. Okay, so here I've made a monstrosity. What to do with this monstrosity? Let's just, I can get out my old friend, the select tool, and just mess with things and see what happens. Alright. So, we could make his mouth small like that. And that's kind of cute. It's better than that monstrosity, I think. Yep, better than the monstrosity. So let's leave it there instead. Alright. So now he's got this big face as opposed to the other one. And we give him his ears. We'll try the ears from this guy because I haven't done that one yet. It's more of a puppy dog ear, but it's fun. So it might be two puppy dogs. We're just trying stuff. What difference does it make? Okay, so if I did that, then going back, the arms on that guy are kind of more just half moon kind of arms. Well, this is going better than I expected. I did not expect to even like this guy at all in the beginning, but aspects of him are growing on me. I don't know if this will be the design I use, but hey, maybe I'll pull something from it. So my biggest problem right now is this little area right here. I hate that. It's hideous. It doesn't work. Something is broken with it. How can I fix that? So need to worry about that hit state. So normally I would just cut that part off, but this is hit state, as you can kind of see right there, so I can't. So I need to tweak stuff. Let's see. What if we... Maybe that would work a little better. It's the beautiful thing about digital art. You just move lines you already made. Alright. We'll try that. I still have to worry about that hit state, but for now, it'll work. Okay, so then I could also give him those bulbous kind of feet. And then you need to worry about his belly. Let's see. So, have it like that. Or, it looks like he's falling forward. Just throw belly down here. It's got that tangent. Nah, I don't like that. Can make it higher, like. It's not terrible. Alright, well, it's different. I didn't expect to come away with this guy when I started, so that's a good thing. It means I'm pushing outside of the area that I expected to find, so not a bad idea. Just, I don't think it's quite right. I feel like maybe this guy is better suited to some other project instead of the one that I'm working on now, but I like him. I think he appeals to me for some reason. Okay. I better stop messing with this and move along. No, give me a minute to just mess a little bit more. If I put in... Oh, that's adorable. Look how adorable he looks. adorable panda. I don't know. Alright. Well, I think then I will be done with this step. Alright. Let me save this. Okay, so if you give me 1 second to go radio silent, I'm going to open up all of the different ones, and then you'd think I'd be able to do this with while I was talking, but this end of it is even harder than drawing while talking. I'm going to open all of them, and then we'll go through them, and we'll see what we got. And I'll start a new Krita document that is... Okay. So let's go back, and how do I flatten things? I know how to merge a layer with a layer below, but okay. Control-Shift-E flattens everything in Krita. So now I know. So what we'll do here is we will put all of our attempts into a new file, and then see what we like about all of them and see what doesn't work, and kind of steal bits from all of the things. See, you even steal from yourself as an artist. Actually, that's pretty much all you do. Is you just steal from yourself. So I guess in game design they call it iteration or something like that. I still don't really know what that is. I think I didn't. Oh, whoops. I forgot to flatten that last one. Control-Shift-E. Nope, that was not right. What did I say it was? Yeah, Control-Shift-E. Oh, alright. It wanted me to be sure. Okay. Sorry. I know that this part of it is probably rather dull because I'm just moving things around, but it is necessary. I appreciate your patience. Okay, did that one. Let's not do this one. Then I have to go back and close all these files, because if I don't, I will accidentally save over everything, and I don't want to do that. Although I guess it's not the end of the world. I should have queued up some music or something so that you could be entertained while I was doing this. Apologies, it's the first time, so I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, cut chats. Remember to keep all of these so you can sell a special edition with an art book for the price of a kidney. You bet. How much are kidneys going for these days? Upside down panda pyramid. Oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Except now I'm thinking, what happens if I do a pyramid-shaped panda? Did I get all of them now? Gosh darn it. I keep forgetting to flatten things. No, I flattened that one. Why didn't it work? Oh, I didn't flatten it. Panda kidneys? Yeah, okay. I was thinking human kidney prices, but I guess if there's a market for panda kidneys, that's how sleepy Fred is. He sleeps all the time, so. Okay. Now we've got our upside down panda pyramid. Is that everybody? Did I get everybody now? I got him, right? He's the top of the panda pyramid. Alright, I think I got everybody. No saving. No saving. No saving. is it? Okay, cool beans. So here are the ones that we drew up. I say we, but really it was all me. You guys really didn't just jump in and help. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate the feedback. Here's the ones that we drew today. And looking at them all next to each other, I can tell you immediately that I'm not a huge fan of these two right off the bat. Putting them next to the other guys, they would work so much better for the game than these other ones, but I just am not as much of a fan of those as I am the other guys. So I'll probably not use those two, but we'll see. Like top left and middle right. So this guy and this guy, is that what you're talking about? Top left, middle right. I think that those are the two that you're talking about. So let's see. You've got orange on your name, so I'll put a little orange star next to those guys, and that'll keep track. Mutant squirrel approved. Whoops! Not only did I misspell approved, but I'm off the page. Okay, there you go. And then we got Ferdinand for middle right as well. Oh, we got two middle rights now. Toxic says I vote for the same, maybe middle right a bit higher. Boy, oh boy. Well, see, this is what the beautiful thing about doing stuff live is. I get all this feedback. Okay, so let's talk about middle right there. First of all, what we can do immediately is say these guys are not going to be used because I don't like them and nobody voted for them, so that makes life easier. All right. Also, let me save this file before I screw up everything and then we don't have all this good stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the ones that we like here, which are mostly this guy, but also up here in the upper left. So let's try messing with that one and see what happens. What layer are we on? That one. Whoops. No. Okay. I will copy this guy. And then we'll move him down here for a second. And then sorry, hang on. What the heck did I do? I have made a mistake. All right, there we go. Get him back. This is why you should always label your layer names, or name your layers. All right, this guy gets moved up here. So long, pyramid, but I need the room. Okay, and no, that's not what I wanted. I want not that one either. That guy. Okay. So we're gonna put that at the top so that I know which one it is. We'll just call it messing with for a minute. Okay. So this is the guy that people seem to enjoy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate him 3 times or 2 times so that we have 3 copies. And then I'll move him over. And then we'll mess with him some more. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Okay. So we're going to play around with these 3 guys and see what happens. Does the black eye patch touch the nose? Evil tangent. And this one it does not that I can see. But we'll make 100% sure that it doesn't by making sure definitely does not touch the nose. Unless we wanted it to, in which case we could. But let's try a few random things. So, painting on a separate layer, I'm going to get rid of his face on this guy. So long, face. Now it's the back of him. Except his feet are on backwards. Okay. And now we will try. So I really kind of like aspects of this guy. So what happens if we steal his face and we jam it on this guy's face and see what happens? So we have much more. Whoops, that's right. I can't erase now. I have to paint over it. Okay. So if we put that other face on this guy, put the eyes there, or we could put the eyes. No, he looks crazy and drunk in that case, so we'll keep them where they were. So here we got same panda, vastly different face, vastly different feel. All I did was change the face, and that is a totally different character now. Well, spadoinkle. No, I'm not sure what I like more. Okay, it's alright. We're just trying things. So, now we'll go ahead and erase this guy's face. Or should I keep working on faces? Yes. Let's mess with faces. You see, this is the problem. There's too many options. We need to just throw all the options away. This is why it's sometimes nice when you don't work for yourself, because then you have an animation or art director and they're like, no, no, yes, no, no, yes. And then you're done because they get the final call instead of me having to fight. Holy smokes. It's almost 6. Okay. I was only planning to do an hour. It'll go like maybe 10 minutes over, and then we'll move on. Tomorrow I'm going to do this again, FYI. Tomorrow is at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try and space these apart. So, let me back up. Today's was at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow's I'm going to do 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Thursday I'm going to get up and get myself out of bed in the morning and do 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, if it's, I know for like Ferdinand over there, it's what, 2 in the morning or something, maybe not quite that late. But if you are interested in coming at a different time, I will do that. Okay, last face. So, we did a mouth on that guy and shrunk his face down. What if we... well, so this guy here that I scratched out, I don't hate his face. I just don't like the other parts. So what if we messed with that? What if we took that guy's face and put him on here? Might be interesting. Midnight due to daylight savings. Gotta go. Okay, have a good one. We'll see you next time. Yeah, that daylight saving time keeps messing me up. Okay, so here we have X'd out guy's face on the body that everybody likes. Well, there we go. I'm going to wrap things up here. Oh, alright, Toxic, thanks. It was good to see you. And yeah, go ahead and follow, I guess. And I honestly have no idea how Twitch works yet, so... But yes, go ahead. I think that would work. Do you get like notifications or something if you follow someone? Anyway, okay. So I'm going to wrap that up there because we're at 6 o'clock anyway, and honestly, this is probably a good place to stop so that I can get an idea of just thinking. Sometimes you gotta just sit there and think. I'll turn my webcam back on. Okay, cool beans. So we're gonna stop there. These three pandas that you see at the bottom there are going to be what we work on tomorrow probably. I'm gonna take those and then we're gonna make a decision whether I like it or not. And oh, okay. You can wait until the stream ends. That means I gotta wrap it up. So we're gonna focus on those three tomorrow, and I'm gonna pick one, and then we're gonna move forward because this initial design isn't even the end. What I'm going to have to do next after this is determine how I want the style, like line quality stuff to be, and all kinds of other things. Oh, it's such a hard part of the process. Is you don't want to make a mistake, but you have to. You're going to just keep making mistakes, and you just hope that you fix them early enough. So tomorrow I'm going to try and take one of these three, maybe tweak it a little bit more. Don't let me spend the whole hour doing that. And then we will start trying out some different styles on top of the final design that we pick. I'm going to try colored line art. I'm going to try dark black art, like the old CubeToon style, see how that looks. And then I will try one without any lines at all, so that'll just be colored shapes, and see how that works. And then we'll just see what happens. And hopefully I'll pick one, and then we'll be able to move along with whatever comes next, which will be things like platform level design and stuff like that. But that's for another day. So, okay, I think that's about it. Thanks everybody for coming. If you have any suggestions for how this could be improved, or if I did anything dramatically wrong, like nobody could hear you the whole time because you muted your mic in the beginning. I think that that's not the case, but if you have any suggestions, please let me know. This is the first time I've done this, and it was interesting, and I will do it again, but I honestly still need to figure out how it all works. So, all right, have a good one, everybody, and I will see you next time. Tomorrow, if you can make it, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can check Weekend Panda Twitter account at Weekend Panda if you want to make sure that you get notified when it immediately goes up. Okay, now I'm going to figure out how to stop the streaming and the recording, and see you later.